Just be Hi everyone, welcome to the Employer Dialogue. We're just going to be starting shortly. If you guys want to introduce yourselves in the chat and a link to where people can connect with you, a LinkedIn link or a website. Look forward to, you guys can ask questions in the chat. We will be answering and joining along.
We're gonna get started, but thank you so much for being here. I know it's early on what is it? I didn't even say Tuesday. Thank you, in the middle of the summer. So can you first give yourselves a round of applause for being here, for waking up early? So if you haven't met me already, my name is Emily, and I'm the founder and CEO of FindSpark. I'm very excited to welcome you to our third ever Employer Dialogue. It's a new series we launched just a couple of months ago to bring the amazing talent professionals within our community together to connect with each other in a nice, intimate environment, but hopefully there's walking space for everybody, right? We're good? We need to move. Okay, great. So what is FindSpark? So we are all about connecting companies to exceptional, diverse early career talent. Really happy to be here with KBS, one of our amazing and longtime employer partners. So we do all sorts of things to connect our employers to connect them to our members, whether that's online, offline, and our focus is creative business and tech talent. So we're really excited to have this new series where we're essentially rotating between the three things that we support, which is diversity and inclusion, employer branding, and recruitment. And also, if you haven't heard of Hustle Summit, we'll talk about it a little bit today. I'm going to ask some questions about how the candidate experiences integrates into an event like Hustle Summit. But this is one of the biggest programs we do twice a year in New York and once a year in Chicago. Can we give a round of applause to Genevieve? You want to share a little bit about KBS? You get the extra spotlight.
Oh, yeah, sure. Absolutely. Well, welcome everyone. We're so happy to have everyone here in our space. So KBS is a global creative communications agency. So we offer everything from advertising to social media, creative technology, data and analytics, pretty much you name it, we can do it. And we have 3 agencies within our company. So not only KBS, the creative agency, but the Media Kitchen, which is our media partner, and Attention Global, which is a social media focused agency. And we have a great roster of clients from American Express, Ad Council, Allstate, Pods, Hyatt Hotels, a lot of great brands. And yeah, we've been around about, I'd say 31 years actually. Happy birthday to us in June. And since then, we've created a global presence. So we not only have offices in the US, but Canada, London, and Shanghai.
Very cool. Thank you. Thanks again.
Thank you.
So we did start a Slack group. So like I said, one of the main reasons we launched this series is to bring folks like you together because we work with so many different types of companies that we know that you're going through a lot of the same challenges, have similar goals and that sort of thing. So definitely join that if you haven't already and introduce yourself in the Slack. And with that, I'd like to welcome up our panelists. So come on up. Where's Joanne? Oh, you're okay. And I'll sit here. Okay. And just a quick note on the format of today, and welcome virtual folks. Hello. So just so you know, if you cannot make one of these, and we will be doing them every single month, and again, we'll rotate between the topics of diversity and inclusion, employer branding, and recruitment. So next month, August 2nd, we have diversity and inclusion. We're going to be at Yelp HQ, but so all the questions that I ask here today are actually questions that people submitted in advance. So to make sure that you have as much mingling and networking time after the panel, I'm not going to take questions during the panel because technically all these questions came from you all. Anyway, and from the folks listening in virtually, and just so you know, right, we always live stream virtually, which is cool to tune in live because you can chat with other people who are tuning in live, and then we also make the recording available afterward if you want to share with colleagues or if you missed one month. So with that, I'm going to hop up awkwardly onto this chair. So would love for everyone to start off. Actually, I'm going to do a quick audience question first, just to, especially since we're talking about the candidate experience, and we always love to bring together a wide range of talent professionals who work at different types of companies, so you can see, the different, again, like challenges and things that they're working on. But just a quick show of hands, how many of you, I'm going to try to use the LinkedIn numbers here, how many of you are at a company that's 1 to 10 people working at a company, 1 to 10. Okay. What about 11 to 50? That's the next one. 11 to 50. Okay, a few people. 50 to 200. Right, and then 200 to 500, and 500 to 1,000, and then 1,000 to 1,000,000. Okay, cool. So we have a pretty even mix, actually. It seems like. Okay, great. So I know we already got the KBS gist, but if you could, each of you could share a little bit about the company you work for, and also how big it is, and a little bit about what your role entails specifically. Let's start with Jen.
Okay, so welcome everyone again. So I gave you a little bit of information about KBS. I would say in terms of our size, we're probably around 300 people here in New York at KBS, about maybe like 90 at Media Kitchen and 35 at Attention Global, which is our smallest group. And then in terms of what my role is here, so I'm on the talent team here. My title is technically Director of Talent Experience. What does that mean? So many things. So it's basically that my role ensures that every experience that a candidate goes through here or an employee goes through here is a positive one. So I focus on all the steps of the employee life cycle, as we say. So everything from recruiting to then pre-boarding and onboarding. So not only getting the people here, but then inducting them into our agency and making them comfortable and included. To things like retention, employee development, performance reviews, learning and development, special programs. And then when we kind of make our way around that circle to exits and offboarding to make sure that process is also great. We're getting the information that we need and sharing it back with management in a meaningful way. So it's a lot of different things, but I do it in partnership with our amazing team. Shout out to some members that are here this morning. So we're a team of 7 that really everyone does a little bit of their own thing, and then we come together on a weekly basis to talk about what we're doing and give exposure to all the different parts of our team.
Hi, I'm Menika. I'm from CB Insights, VP of People Ops. CB Insights is a machine intelligence platform that allows companies to take millions of data points and visualize and understand them to make better decisions. The organization is at about 200 people right now. When I joined in 2014, it was about 20 people, so we've grown pretty exponentially over the past 4 years. The team itself has also grown in the past year. Originally, it was just myself, and then it went to 2 people in 2016, and now we're at about 7 people, 3 people on the recruiting side, 4 of us on the HR side. And everything that she said is what we focus on: recruit, support, develop, repeat. Like that's our motto. That's what we do.
So, good morning. My name is Lindsay Robinson. I'm VP of, I don't even know my title anymore. Business operations. Our company is primarily responsible for events. That's what people know us for. But we've morphed into a branding agency, and we're responsible for strategy, campaign development. We have our own creative team, which I think is about 15 people now. We work with companies, we work with HBO, we just came off the Essence Fest where we did a huge activation for Coke. We did the main stage in addition to screening for Insecure, and then also like a YouTube, or for BT, we did a Lyft and Uber experience for some of their new shows that we're doing. Again, I've been with the company 7 years. I used to intern for my girls' call training in college. So I started as his EA. I'm still his EA. To get away from that role. But it also allows me to know everything that's going on within the company. So I do a lot of what Genevieve spoke about, but then also I started managing our IT because kind of people were just signing on to their own accounts. So we had to kind of put process and protocol in place. I also deal with our happy hours, any of our hospitality within the office, outside of the office for clients, for employees. Our intern program is huge, which is how I found Find Spark. I was trying to do the numbers last night. Again, I just came off of Essence, so forgive me if I'm a little frazzled. It's 11:30 last night. But our intern program is what I'm most proud of, I would say. And then also taking care of our employees, which is what we do once they get in the door. And then trying to make them stay, which is very tricky in today's age. But looking forward to the questions that I received today. And please go on our website and follow us via social media. We're very active there. Thank you guys for having me.
Hi everyone, I'm Joanne Rodriguez. I work for Viacom. I'm a talent acquisition manager and work within the talent acquisition team. To just give you an idea of Viacom, if you don't already know who we are, we're a global entertainment company and content creation company that is the parent company to a lot of brands that you're very familiar with: MTV, VH1, Comedy Central, Paramount, BT, so on and so forth. And so I've been with Viacom for about almost 3 years now, and I've known Emily since my days in Univision, years back as well. And basically what I'm responsible for, many of what everyone here does, but I'm more on kind of on the ground as a recruiter. I recruit for mostly corporate roles, so anything from ad sales to finance to legal to a little bit of everything. I've touched every piece of the organization. I first started there in the entry-level campus team, and then I moved into more of a direct corporate recruiter. So, you know, my experience at Viacom has been amazing. I loved it. It's always been my dream to work for MTV. It's kind of what I grew up on, and so I'm really happy to be here sharing some stories and, you know, hits and misses that we had.
Awesome. Well, so one of the questions we got that I think was a good one to start out with is, you know, how do you sort of define a candidate experience, and what are some things that you've done, say, as of recent, to make some improvements to that candidate experience? And I think this is a good question for everyone. If maybe Joanne, I'll start back with you.
I think the candidate experience really starts at the very, very beginning, even before you even reach out to the candidate. I think it even starts when you post the position and what that even looks like. So, for example, the job description, if it's, you know, if you're attracting a certain talent or skill set, you want to make sure you're attracting the right candidates. You want to be gender biased. You want to be free of all of that. So I think it starts there. So being very conscious of what kind of impression are you providing to the candidate on your company. And then obviously that takes you into the reach out, whether it's via email, via phone, and just taking them through the entire thing. What we've been doing as a recent, in terms of candidate experience. Sorry. Everyone got the done yet? Close it. Sorry guys. I think the candidate experience, what we've been trying to do and trying to really incorporate is, you know, we've been an organization that's been around for quite some time, and there's been many different ways of recruiting. There hasn't been a very streamlined process. Everybody has their own way of doing things, whether it's on the recruiters or hiring managers. So what we've been doing in the last couple of years and what we've found very effective is really providing a process that we don't want to call a process, because people hear process, they're like, oh, what are the rules? But more like guidelines where we kind of walk through with the hiring managers, like this is what our responsibilities are in terms of recruiter. These are your responsibilities as the hiring manager, so on and so forth. So kind of like a service level agreement, I don't want to call it that either, but it's more of like what we're, like a contract. So, and in that, I think it provides the candidate an experience that is very consistent and very seamless, where it doesn't sound like we're giving the candidate the same questions. And I'm sure a lot of you have had hiring managers ask the same exact questions and you're not getting anything out of it. So we make sure to provide kind of like a process, or here are some of the questions you may want to ask, or who are the interviewers involved, and getting that all squared away right at the very beginning, so it doesn't look like we're just flying by the seat of our pants, which for the most part we are. But you know, just giving a little bit more of a guideline. And I think that really, and the feedback we've been receiving from candidates have been tremendous. You know, just kind of, oh my God, that was so easy. I've had 3 interviews, rather than them coming in for like 10 times. You know, I think it's probably what the impression you provide to them and the feedback you receive. It's so much more data points that you get out of it as well. So that's kind of what we've been trying to do, and it's been really working on our end.
How do I start? So we've always been kind of a referral-based hiring model. We never used a recruiter or We never went out to the marketplace. Culture and Curtis, who's our managing partner, kind of he was tweeting at one point, and now we have IG posts that we put out, and he's got kind of a weird cult following anyway, and so we used that for a long time, and it worked. Now what's starting to happen is we're getting, we need people with very specific skills. And so now we're starting to have to use recruiters. We have some amazing recruiters. FindSpark has really been a great resource for us. But what we're starting to realize is we have to do things a little differently. I've been with the company now 7 years. We were just talking about this, and we started at 10, and now we're 75. So we grew quite large in a very short amount of time. And we don't have an HR department. I'm in. So, and I don't have any formal HR training. I've done my best, and I think that thank goodness I'm like a worrywart and I'm a big type A personality, so I just figure it out. But I have a great group of people, and from my previous years, I used to work at the MBA, so between there and contacts that I've made, I've had a great amount of resources that I can go to actually have formal training. But I think what separates us a little bit from other people is everyone comes in and meets with Coltrane and or Lisa, who our company is managed by husband and wife. It works. I know it's scary for a lot of people, but somehow it works. She knows what she's good at, he knows what he's good at, and they sit at opposite ends of the office. I work for both of them and sit in the middle. Some days I don't know. But honestly, they're very hands-on. And I think that is what separates us from everyone else. People are very surprised that a lot of these, they're the first people in the office and the last ones leave. Frankly, I was very surprised when I first started working there, because a lot of business owners are figureheads, but they're very, very, very dedicated. I cannot stress that enough to our experience. People forget I'm an employee sometimes because I'm always the one giving the rules, but they try to do what works for the employees. Obviously, a lot of my time is spent making sure that the betterment of the company comes first, but I was also explaining that a lot of times I just have to make decisions based on people either need things or deserve things. We're still small enough where, I can make decisions based on, someone's been killing themselves at an event and have 24 hours, straight on a build, and that happens a lot, surprisingly. And so you make a decision for that person that maybe, the person that comes in and works there, our office hours are 10 to 7, which is also a little bit surprising to people that we're a little later. But you have to make decisions based on people. And our hiring process starts that way. So they come in and they meet both with Coltrane and or Lisa, and the person they're going to be directly reporting to. So that gives them kind of an in immediately to who they need to know. And then obviously you meet the bigger team, but we all work together. If you come in our office, we have family business on the side of the wall, and we try to keep it as much family business as possible. I always say, obviously we don't have doors. We sit in a similar, situation like this. We have 3 offices, but those offices never close. You have to be available, and it's a little different than Viacom, in which you have so much process protocol, and I understand why you need to do that. We're getting to that point, but right now we're still in a position where we can make decisions based on our people. And sometimes I have to call a group of people into a room and say, hey, what's going on? You feel the energy in the office is different. You see somebody's going through something. We're very people oriented, and that so far has worked for us. We do have an office in Portland, and I have a counterpart there who I ask to manage the same way. He's a dude, so sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I try to really be the mom of the office, and my greatest accomplishment is when people are like, oh, Lindsay takes care of everyone. Like, that to me is what's important. That's how I would want to be managed. So that's kind of where we are now. The skills, the hiring based on skills is getting more and more necessary. I'm going to do everything I can, and I'm empowered to do everything I can to make sure that people are taken care of. We spend probably a lot of time at work, and I think it's important that you are comfortable, that you have a little bit of fun, a lot of fun sometimes. But that's super important to me. So that's how we have managed to this point. And we'll see how it continues.
So we follow a little bit more what you said. So we have like a structured hiring plan. So it starts from headcount, what do we need? From there, it's a structured hiring plan with the hiring manager. Like, what are the goals for this person? What's the 30, 60, 90 look like? What's the must-haves versus nice-to-haves? And then we also work on a rubric. So basically making sure that we're not asking everyone the same exact questions, especially at the face-to-face stage. So every interviewer kind of determines, 1 to 2 questions that they're going to ask, and then what's a great, good, and bad answer. So really to remove that bias. So that's kind of the start of it, besides the job spec. And then from there, when we actually get someone in the door, it's all about communication from the recruiting team. We set people up to know that this is potentially going to be either a long process or what are the steps it takes to get here. There's always an assessment as part of the process. So we really want to be transparent from the get-go on what's going to happen. Because the last thing we want is for someone to come in, and be a part of the entire interview process for probably up to anywhere from 5 to 10 hours based on the assessment, meeting people, and then get rejected and be like, hey, why did I spend so much time? So we really focus on being as open about what our process is so people can decide from the get-go from if they want to move forward in the process. But it seems to be working so far. And one thing that we did recently change was after the face-to-face stage, we were rejecting people via email, through Greenhouse, and because we've been spending so much time with people, we realized we really should call them. And so the recruiting team has made that change, and that's been a really positive impact on just the experience for people, letting them know. Unfortunately, we can't really give really intense answers as to why, because a lot of times it is related to if they're kind of a fit with the organization or something like that. But I think they appreciate the call, and it just makes it more human.
Well, definitely everything these ladies touched on. But thinking about, a couple of things that were mentioned, maybe expanding on that. So I think overall, candidate experience is really about just constant communication between the candidate, but not only the hiring managers and people in your organization, like everyone has touched on too. So starting at things like the job description or posting, using a tool like Textio, right, to eliminate that gender bias. Peeps on Textio, what's up. So a couple of things that we have done in the past year through all the points of candidate and people interaction is work towards, eliminating bias and creating more diverse pipelines of candidates. So, running things through Textio, making sure to eliminate all the bias there, working with partners to make sure that if we're putting jobs out into the world, they're reaching the underrepresented groups that we want to bring into our organization. So we do that in a ton of different ways. One, working with a great partner like FindSpark that can offer opportunities for maybe more transactional things like job posts, but also more transformative, like going to events, posting things like this, changing the conversation about what your company does and the type of people that we want to recruit into our home. So partners are definitely important. I think you can get really tactical with candidate experience, breaking it down everything from when the person walks in the door, how long are they sitting at reception? When they go into the room, is there water? There's so many different things that you can think about. Are they here all day for a marathon interview session? Do they have a snack? Hold on, let me go get them a smoothie. There's so many different things that you could really break down, but just making sure that there are people on your team that can own and help you with every part of that process is really important. And also candidates appreciate the non-update update that we call it on our team, where if we don't have news, just if this is someone you're thinking about, reaching out to them and just saying, hey, weekend's about to hit, I don't really have any news, but as soon as I do have something, I'm gonna hit you up. That goes a long way in terms of a candidate feeling like, okay, they're thinking about me, I'm confident in their process, it's all good. So I think that's just a few things that can really help. If I want to expand a little bit more on the diverse pipelines, we've also, in terms of working with partners, we've made a promise to the agency that if we're recruiting for a role with someone, if we send them a pipeline of candidates, 50% of those candidates are going to be from an underrepresented group. So in changing our pipelines and making sure that with all these partners, we're getting all different types of people into our organization, then hopefully those will have returns to make sure we have a really inclusive workplace.
And specific question for Joanne, because obviously Viacom is the biggest one, your biggest number of people. So, and it's interesting, we accidentally publicized this a little bit to our community members, and I realized, I was like, oh yeah, this seems like it could have been an event for them, and we had some questions that are basically like, why don't they get back to me sometimes? That sort of thing. And so obviously, there's different points at which, like you mentioned, okay, if a candidate comes face-to-face, you give them the phone call, the non-update updates. What are some of the, Viacom is huge and you must get, tons and tons of applications. So where does, I'm curious, like Viacom draw the line of who they can update and who they can't update and how they set that expectation? Because obviously that's one of the most, from our experience of having this huge community member base, that's one of the most frustrating things is for the not hearing back.
No, that's a great question, and I get that a lot, like, oh, when I apply, why does it go into a black hole? I'm like, it doesn't, but in response to, it is a big company, we get a lot of applications, and we're blessed for that, thankfully. But I think when we think, I think as a rule of thumb-ish, as recruiters, and what I like to do is anybody that I talk to, whether it's via email, phone, or meet with, I make sure to let them know if we're turning them down, whether it's some kind of contact. I can't contact everyone that applies, so if I haven't reviewed your resume, you probably just get an email once the position is closed and the position's been closed. So that's kind of how we have it sort of systematically figured out, but I know it's not the most ideal. Everybody wants to hear back, everybody wants to hear a voice at the end, nobody wants to be ghosted. So we try to eliminate that, especially because we do rely so much on pipeline candidates. And if they're, maybe not great for this position, for sure we'll keep them in mind for something else. So I make sure to let them know, like, listen, this wasn't a great fit for you, but maybe we can keep you in mind for something else that's coming up.
And that's a great action item for everybody. Like, you can't get back to them at every stage of the process, but you can at least let them know that it was filled, right?
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
So question for Monica, because you mentioned your rubric process, and are your candidates also still interviewing with the CEO as
Yeah,
well?
so the last step is to speak to a co-founder, so either the CEO or COO. And another thing that we recently tweaked was prepping them for that call. We didn't realize that they might give like a 10-minute monologue on their background, which is definitely not what the CEO is doing here. So we started prepping them for these like 15 or 30-minute calls, and it's definitely, it's set us up as successfully as possible, but it's still on the candidate to do what they're going to do. But yeah, I think that's something that we'll continue to do until, I don't know when they stop, but I think it's important to, because we've had people who don't make it at the end of the process, and it's because of that call.
And so in terms of some of the steps that you've mentioned, like how often does your team kind of go through them, tweak them, that sort of thing, like the rubrics and the communications that are going out throughout the process? And that
Yeah, so the rubrics is definitely like for each role. So as soon as a role is open, that's when the rubrics are created for those face-to-face interviews. But I'd say tweaks in process happen basically whenever we kind of see a breakdown, or we just see something where like, hey, something could be smoother, or should we think about something else? And so, for example, on our engineering team, we're doing more mock interviewing. It's just like, to make sure we build that rapport. So we're doing a training session with them this week just to kind of build that up, and that's just really only for engineering. So it really is just on an as-needed basis, and where we're seeing like a little bit of a breakdown in the process.
Okay. And so interviews are obviously a big part of the process. So whether that be, phone screens, video, I'm curious if anybody has had experience with anything, sort of non-traditional still at this point. So maybe like one of those automatic, like you have 30 seconds to answer, that kind of thing. Okay, I'd love for each of you to talk like a little bit about the interview process, whether it be a face-to-face, phone screen, and just how, like a little more details into how you develop those questions, develop that format, and even little things like, remembering, oh, there's water. Like, we love giving very actionable tips. Like, everyone write down, make sure there's water in the interviews. But yeah, if everyone can touch on the actual interview, some part of that process, that would be great.
Yeah, for sure. I can do that. So we are really planning what the interview process looks like when we have, our recruitment kickoff with our hiring managers. So in that meeting is covered, everything from the job post, to what the interview team, who those people are, in what order, what type of setting works for everyone. And we try to make it as even as possible, and I'm also thinking about making the interview roster a diverse team of people. So we've gotten feedback that when people come in and interview, what really changed the game for them was that they saw someone in the interview process that looked like them and made them feel more comfortable. So we're always thinking about having equal representation in terms of that group. And then it depends on what the role is for us to see what our process would be. So we're recruiting for all different types of things, from account management to more tech-driven, developer roles and skill sets. So then we really get into the details of what this person needs to have. send out different like assessments. For example, for our technology group, we send out like a timed coding test. So after you've made it through the round of phone screen and in-person meeting, you then have that skills assessment. And if you don't have a good score at the end of that, that kind of leads you through and out of the process. So yeah, I think it's a little bit different for every role, but what we do to keep consistent is making sure we have that super diverse interview panel and understand and are totally synced in with the hiring managers on what the process is going to look like.
Ours is definitely really similar. It starts with a phone screen with the recruiter. This is all after like the hiring plan is in place, and then after the phone screen with the recruiter, it could either be an assessment or it could be a face-to-face interview with people on the team. And then it would obviously switch for the next round, and the assessment, same thing. It really weeds out, and this is really like what they're going to be doing in their job. So it also helps them decide, is this something that I want to be doing? So it's a very real life example for them. And then after the face-to-face, it might be an additional face-to-face depending on where it goes. And after that would be a call with the founder. So the process is pretty streamlined, but like she said, coding tests for engineers, some type of assessment, anywhere from an HR role, a BD role would be a mock call or a mock email to a potential candidate or a client. So we really try to make it as real as possible. And I think that's helped them see, like, is this something that I want to be doing, and does it make sense for me to join this organization?
I'd say the one tweak that we have instituted is, so we'll come in, meet with co-training, meet with probably the department head, and then if we like them and think kind of both their skill set fit and a culture fit, because we have such a small office and we're kind of diverse in that regard, we want to make sure somebody's coming in and they don't need library quiet or, something like that, because it's just going to throw off. Finance still needs library quiet because they don't get it. We have them, we send out a text and basically have them interact as they would within the office. So they're either putting together a deck for a client, they're putting together a campaign or something like that. Account managers will put together an action plan with budget and everything. Event planners will plan an event, and then they have to come in and present that to the entire team. So we have to make sure they're comfortable actually doing the work, but then executing the work in front of, staring eyes and that. And it's not always a friendly room, and we do kind of do that on purpose because clients can be hostile. So, you want to make it as real as possible. And you'd be surprised at how good people are on paper, and then when they come in are kind of a completely different person. So you want to make sure that the two match up. We don't phone screen anymore, just because we don't have that many people to be able to do that. Again, it's kind of myself and not a immediate team. But the one tricky thing I will say, and the one piece of advice that I can give you is, don't like mass apply to things. Apply to the job that not only that you want, that you're qualified for. Because what's starting to happen, I'm sure you see this, people just send random resumes in, and the minute people start seeing that, or myself or anyone in our department sees that, it's a delete. Because you don't know what you think your skill set requires, because they're completely different jobs. That's the one thing that could turn someone off very, very quickly. And even if you are right for one of them, they're gonna see that you're kind of just, it's almost aggressive, like passive aggressive, I think. So be very careful about doing that, and change your resume. You have to change your resume for the job. We're starting to realize, you're sending the same resume for vastly different positions, and it's not a good look. Your tricks are not tricks. We all kind of see, it's like your mom was like, no, I've seen that before. We've seen that before. So something to just pay attention to, and be yourself in the interview. It's very unsettling to have someone come in who's playing a role. You want to be as much of yourself as possible. You always want to dial it back a bit, but make sure that you're authentic in who you are and what you're looking for. Don't just take a job to take a job, because as you guys said, you figure out very, very quickly that this is the right person. So you're wasting our time and your own.
Well, everyone here definitely spoke to so many things that we incorporated into our interview process. The one thing I like to keep in mind when thinking about interviewing, and I always like to put myself in their shoes. So what would I like to see from this company? And usually, we're in the people business, right? So we want to make sure people are comfortable, excited, enthusiastic to work here. And that's sort of what we look for in Viacom. And that's sort of the culture. It's very, open, we're diverse, we're creative. So My first thing is just to kind of piggyback on what everybody said here is, make the interview comfortable. And that's what I tell my hiring managers. I'm like, it's not like, we're not putting them on the stand. We want to make sure that you're getting the best from them. And I think it has to do a lot with how comfortable you are and how comfortable you make them feel. So that certainly is my rule of thumb, always going into any interview. I say, how's it going? How's the weather? Like just that small talk, I think puts people at ease. And just taking it from there, you start to see that there, bits of layers start to come out, and you're like, okay, I see who you are, and I can figure you out somehow. But I think that's the most important piece, of course, on top of everything else.
So, a lot of the candidate experience, of course, happens on the internet in the black hole that, candidates love to call it. But Jen, you've been coming to Vinesburg events for many, many years now, for multiple different companies. How do you integrate going to a recruitment event, a networking event, into that candidate experience when it's not happening in that traditional way, online through the job board?
Sure. So I think it starts before the event even happens. So with something like, Hustle Summit, we'll have all of our open jobs posted. And we'll share them, with the group so that people can come to us knowing that maybe they're interested in a specific role and then can talk specifically to that role. So that's a little bit helpful to give people more context about the type of roles that we're recruiting for. And we do have all of our open jobs posted not only on our website, but on the FindSpark job board or any other job board that we're going to an event for. And then other partners that we might work with, like a 2020 Shift or just other organizations that can help us get our jobs out there. So candidates are already seeing kind of what's out there in the world before we talk to them. And then when we meet, sometimes, how those events are. They can be like a marathon of a day where you're like, oh. But, you talk through the conversation, you try to give everyone a similar description of what your company is, what you do, so there's an even playing field and people have all the same information, and take down a lot of notes. And sometimes I just write down random things to help me remember a person or something that we talked about, so that when I'm going back to everything, because you might walk home with a big book of resumes and be like, where do I start? But if you have your little memorable notes to jog your memory, then you can remember those conversations and those connections that you met. And of course, people who go to Hustle Summit are awesome at this. They follow up. So those few days after, your inbox is going to be popping. So it can be a little overwhelming, but you just kind of have to make your to-do list and go through it and divide and conquer with your team if you have the ability to do that. And use tools to help you. Like we mentioned some of them as we're all talking, like our applicant trackers that you might use. You don't have to have the greenhouse to be able to get things done. We have it, it's an awesome tool, but you can find some really affordable ATSs out there. There are a lot now, a lot more than there used to be, just even a few years ago. That might be a little bit more bare bones, but will help you stay organized and will help you be really efficient in the process. And that can help you with things like, some of the more automated messages where it makes sense, or, just help you keep track of people that you need to be following up with too. And if you have to be nimble and work off a Google spreadsheet, do you. Like we have all been there, and that's cool too, as long as you have a tool to help you follow up and make sure that this experience is great for everyone you just met at that fair, then it'll work.
And Monica, one of the things that we did together was the interview with Lauren on your sales team, right? So a lot of times with our FindSpark partners, we create content that helps, like what we like to say, humanize the brand and share a little bit more about the company and the people behind it. So maybe you could talk about that a little bit and how you integrated that content into the process of it to help let people know what the job is all about.
Yeah, definitely. So Lauren is our business development director for our SDR team. And so she did an interview with Emily, and it was amazing. And it's something that we actually use for any candidate that's applying for the SDR role. So something as a PS or information, but it basically helps you understand what we're looking for, what makes someone successful here. So you really have everything you need to interview well at CV Insights, if it's the place you want to be. And it's great that it lives online, so that way we can just continue to use it. It's awesome. keeps on giving.
And Lindsay, you mentioned a lot of referrals come from people who your founders like are connected with or following. Because, he's a person of interest. How does that help with the candidate experience in terms of having those social media channels or referrals, that sort of thing? Because obviously that's something that's happening more and more, is the ability for colleagues, whether it's like the CEO or even just regular colleagues who can help like promote the brand, promote openings. Like, how has that helped create referrals and a better candidate experience?
Well, I think it goes back to like making sure people are happy. So nobody's gonna want to set their friends up, right? So you have to really make, you want to make sure that you're providing a good experience for them to bring other people into. The work is going to be the work, right? Clients are going to be demanding, the hours are going to be what they are, again, because we're entertainment and we're activating all over the country, and now the world. I actually just came from our W property in Mexico, which was pretty awesome. They've asked us now to possibly do other W properties around the country. But you want to provide a great environment that they're excited about and want to brag about, I guess is the best way to say it. So, we do use social media, and we are posting, Marie was talking about all the fun things they see on our Instagram site, and we have to do those things because that's what people are looking at. And so, yes, you look at everybody swag surfing, at Essence this weekend, but like that was a planned activation. So like we know people love to do that. So Kenny Burns got on stage and he was, that would happen 4 times. It's supposed to happen once. But I think it's about providing a good experience, as many perks and as many touch points that matter to you, right? I'm a runner, so Nike is a client. And when I talk to our Nike clients, I'm like, oh, we saw you ran this weekend, let us send you whatever. We try to figure out what individuals are interested in and have, and again, because we're small, we can do that, obviously, it's a little harder. But I'm sure you do it in a more targeted fashion. But we want people to not only be passionate about their work, but, and hope that we care about them and care about what's important to them, their hobbies, their interests. Just because you're an account manager doesn't mean that you can't, be on our film project, with another client, because that might be a hobby of yours. So when I talk to them in the very beginning, I'm the first person that they meet, I want to make sure that they're having a personal and professional experience. And I think we have someone, actually, he's no longer with us, he just left after 6 years, but he was a producer, a film producer. He was 18, 19 maybe when we hired him. But he was hired as an account manager, had nothing to do with film. Anytime there was anything film related, we made sure that he was involved because that touched him personally. And I think that kept him with us for as long as it did. I think that's what's most important. When you can, and in the right tone, and in the right, you can't just give. There's got to be a little bit of, it's beneficial for both parties. But you want to do that, you want to make sure that you're connecting groups of people who are interested in the same thing. So we try to host a monthly happy hour. And I'm always asking people, hey, what do you guys want to do? And we've done laser tag, we've done, everybody wants to drink, but what else can we do, guys? Laser tag, we've been bowling, we've done karaoke, we've done rock climbing. Again, I'm a runner, I take people on a run, I was like 3 people. But, we brought one of our employees, his father's like renowned yoga teacher. He came in and did yoga in our conference room. So I think it goes back to making sure people are personally connected as much as possible, and then they're going to spread that love, and want people. There was something on the table about people don't do good work if they're not happy or something on one of those little things over there. I was like, like, yeah, see? But I think it's important. To the extent that you can, the bigger you are, the harder it is. You have to have a team, and you have to have a team of people. These things are super important because every company is competing. Everybody that we're hiring from outside of Team Epiphany is like, you guys don't have summer Fridays. You guys don't have a candy jar. You don't have food on Thursdays. Like, no, keep these things coming. How can I do my job? So I'm not going to know everything. Nobody's going to know everything, but let your employers know what is important to you, and I think they will do their best to incorporate those sorts of things.
Jen, you mentioned pipeline is really important for Viacom, and we've all worked together, and obviously that's one of the huge things, right? You want to have people in the pipeline before the role opens, ideally. What are some ways that Viacom engages with the pipeline? So people who apply but aren't fit at the time, like what are your tips for, and even formally at Univision, which is a little bit smaller, right? Like how did you keep people warm in that sense?
It's tough because my boss said something really interesting. We're not a blanket. We can't keep people warm. But we try, right? Certainly. But I think it's important, even just a quick email saying, we may have something coming up, just want to make sure, or even just a touch base. Like it's something so easy, so quick, depending on the relationship you have with the person as well. I mean, I tend to really, when we project them, I make sure to give them a call or some touch point, and that already gives us a certain rapport. So it's tough to do all the time, but I think just email, I think it's the most easiest thing to do. A call if you have the time, or even inviting them to events that we do and on site, or whether we're going to sponsor something or anything like that. Like, hey, you may be interested in coming to hear our a speaker, whatever it is, to keep them engaged with our company, whether it's Viacom or any other company, so they can always think in the back of their mind, hey, this is a great company to work for, I'm really interested. So something like that I think is important. We have something that we're currently using for more executive level roles where we're keeping them in sort of our database, and we send them sort of like daily, not daily, but maybe monthly kind of newsletters or anything like that. So something where they're always keeping our company in mind. So I think you can be as creative as you can. And as recruiters, we're responsible for providing that pipeline. And you have, hiring managers just line up and they're like, "You already have people for me? Oh my God, let's go!" Like they're ready. So to be prepared is important.
Yeah, and one thing we look for in FindSpark partners is, for instance, when we see on a careers page, don't see a fit, like still, submit your resume, right? Because you never know what's coming down the line. So that's like a really easy thing to do. Usually any applicant tracking system will enable you to do that. We see a lot of our employers find success through that. So we're gonna do a couple of speed questions before we wrap up. So in terms of a recent challenge, how did you overcome it? Like super speedy. I know some of you mentioned some improvements you've made recently, but that would be awesome to hear because obviously we all have challenges. So and it could be an old one as well.
I guess the first thing, well, I talked a little bit about creating diverse pipelines. So in order to do that, it does require work of identifying partners and making sure there are opportunities not only to get your jobs out into the world, but also bring people into your space. So you really do need to make time to be a little strategic when you are planning things like that.
I think I mentioned mine with the face-to-face, making sure we reject people via phone, just because they've spent a lot of time with us. It's been pretty huge.
Yeah, I would say the presentations have been a big deal for us to make sure that people are able to get up and speak coherently about a topic is very, very important.
I think one of the challenges we've had recently was really branding Viacom and seeing it as an employer brand. Like, this is where I want to work. So recently we've been very active with, partnering with Glassdoor, partnering with LinkedIn, and really, branding what we do, what our workforce looks like, what the diversity in our teams look like. So we have our talent acquisition operations team that does a really tremendous job in all of that. And whether it's on social media, something like LinkedIn, Glassdoor, FindSpark, anything like that, where we're getting out there, and that we're hiring, and we're not only hiring for production folks, because everyone thinks, I want to work at MTV, I want to be a producer, I want to work for the Jersey Shore. I'm like, so just giving them, sort of an idea of what it is that we do as a whole, and I think we've been doing really great with that. So that's been the challenge, but there's always continuous growth there and development that we can do.
And final speed comment tip, what would be one of your final like candidate experience tips, like something you'd like to share that's been really helpful for you? The more actionable, the better. Something that you want to leave with folks today.
Yeah, I'd say just communicate. Like I talked a little bit before about that non-update update. Like just let people know what's up. You know, either way, whatever's going on, just try to keep people updated and in the know. And yeah.
I think for us, in the emails we sent to candidates, say from like the phone screen to the next stage, we always had a PS of some sort. So sometimes it's like our culture page, sometimes it's just a specific article, or like, you know, the one that Lauren did, that video. So just something that kind of keeps them interested and some other tidbit that maybe wasn't discussed over the phone shared with them so they see another side of CV Insights.
I'd say we're very, like, brutally honest. We lead with the challenges rather than like what's great about the job, because we need to really let people know, you know, because it's so hands-on. And I think it's important to do that, because if someone doesn't want that much interaction with the client, or they also can't be that honest, they may not be a fit, and they're, you know, again, you're already kind of setting them up for failure. So we want to give them as much information, even though it comes across. We try to do it with the most positive words possible. But you have to be honest. You know, you have to be brutally honest with people about what the challenges of the job are going to be, because, you know, the rainbows and the cupcakes and the unicorns, they're going to be there. But that's not what's going to steer your day, you know. And I think it's been helpful for us. People are appreciative, and sometimes they're like, but okay, you know, it's better that you tell me on the front end than the back end, and that has been helpful for us.
That's really great advice. We're trying to be as honest as we can for sure, but I think also like, yeah, tricky. And I think the most important thing, and like I said before, is just keeping it human and just having that connection, keeping them comfortable. If you have some really, you know, if you have your top 3 candidates that you want to impress, walk them around. If you have a really cool space, walk them around. Like the office, I mean, we have our Paramount theaters, and we walk them and like, oh, look, you know, there's the Forrest Gump bench. Like, you know, all this really exciting. You know, like, you know, kind of at the same, you know, you have to. It's sort of a partnership, so you have to engage them just as much as they try to engage you. It's not just one side. I think you know, earlier in my career, I remember it's just like, I remember being so, I mean, I've always been really nice, but it's always like, okay, what do you have for me versus what do I have to bring to you? So it's a two-way street. So we have to kind of cut that a little bit, and I know that that's been very much the stigma with recruiting is just like, well, what do you have to bring to the table? Well, what do I have to bring to the table? Because a lot of the candidates are asking you the same questions. So you have to be prepared to answer those questions. So I think that's really important to just to take away from when you're really providing the candidate experience. And once they're here, you know, continue that. Like, just don't, like, you know, it's like, you know, marrying somebody that you just, like, you met on the first date and you're like, who is this person? The second day, like, you know, you have to continue that courtship. And hopefully that'll continue on for years.
Oh, yes, you can. Sorry, I just had a thought. Sorry. Tap into the people in your organization too. Like, you don't have to own all of this yourselves all the time. Like, it doesn't always need to fall on the talent team or the recruiter. Like, if you have employee resource groups, you know, take those folks to recruitment fairs, or people in your organization probably are alumni from different schools that want to get involved in things like that, or your referral program. You know, just make sure that people aren't referring people all the time that are just like them, that you have that diverse group that's always coming to your organization. So, you know, you're not alone.
Awesome. Can we give a round of applause? We are going to, again, take the rest of the time for you to network. I would love to meet all of you personally if we haven't yet. And all of the swag and memes and cards up there is all takeable. So please don't be shy. We have many. And we hope to see Oh yes, of course.
Thank you guys for attending. If you have any questions, you can email me at marie@findspark.com. Really appreciate your time today, and look forward to seeing you guys at Future FindSpark Employee Dialogue.